Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
You ever watch Frasier? Kelsey Grammer is the actor who plays Frasier, and he says this: prayer is when you talk to God. Meditation is when you're listening. Playing the piano allows you to do both at the same time. So interesting. Welcome to the Bible for Busy People. I'm Erica, your host, and I want to ask you to meditate on something that I believe with all my heart that God just downloaded to me. Consider for a moment the great honor and the joy of carrying out God's plan for your own life and the rest of the whole world too. Because those two things, the plans He has for you and the plans He has for this old world, are intersected. They intersect and interact with each other. What a privilege. Today, you and I are going to study another unsung hero in the Bible, a woman who had to do something hard twice. And yet, when we pull back and zoom out, I think you and I are going to be amazed at what God did through this woman's courage. I want you to join me now in Exodus chapter 2. We're going to pick up the story in verse 1. And this is sort of piggybacking on what you and I studied last time. Remember the two brave Hebrew midwives who refused to throw the babies in the Nile River as the evil king was requiring them to do? Yeah, remember Shipra and Puah. Those are my new heroes. They are not unsung anymore. Well, today, let's meet another brave woman. Okay, Exodus 2, verse 1. About this time, a man and woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. Okay, can we pitch a tent here and talk about how scary that would be? Imagine hiding a baby boy. Imagine if he cried in the middle of the night and you had a mean neighbor who wanted to tell on you. Think of the fear that they had to fight for those 3 months. Verse 3 now. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. The baby's sister then stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter, now Pharaoh, by the way, is the evil king who wanted all of the babies who were born Hebrew and male drowned in the Nile River. Remember that. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This must be one of the Hebrew children, she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess. Should I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? She asked. I want to pitch a small tent here and recognize this baby's sister as an unsung hero as well. I wonder how many times she rehearsed that line. Should I go and get one of the Hebrew women maybe to nurse the baby? Can you hear her rehearsing that? I can. She is also an unsung hero. Verse 8 now. Yes, do, the princess replied. So the girl went and called the baby's mother. Take this baby and nurse him for me, the princess told the baby's mother. I will pay you for your help. So the woman took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. The princess named him Moses, for she explained, I lifted him out of the water. Okay, this is an incredibly powerful story. I can't imagine what it was like to be Moses's mom, to have to place your baby in a basket and let him go, and then have to give him up again. And yet God was so merciful to the mom of Moses, and he's merciful to you and I. Something I noticed that I've never noticed before as we were reading is simply this. There was an evil king who asked Moses' mother to drop her baby in the Nile to drown him. And yet, there was another king, a good king. As a matter of fact, the King of Kings, who called Moses' mother to still set that baby in the Nile. And the Nile was a dangerous place. Think about the crocodiles alone. This good king also required Moses' mother to put that baby in the Nile. And yet I believe with all my heart that the hand of God was upon that child in the basket, the child given up in faith, surrendered, I am sure, through many tears by his own mother, because God had a plan for Moses. Even if you've never read the Bible before and this is your first rodeo studying God's word, you probably know, because you've probably watched The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. It comes on every Easter, doesn't it? You know that God tapped Moses to deliver the Israelites from slavery. Yes, for a time, Moses would live as the son of an Egyptian woman, but God had a calling on his life, and it started with his mother, who said yes to God. She chose obedience, and look at the end of the story. God used Moses to open the Red Sea, to deliver so many people from a life of slavery, to bring them to the promised land. Moses was God's chosen instrument, not the only one. But when I think about his mama in faith, giving up her child, not to the crazy Nile River full of dangerous creatures, but Moses' mother was placing her son into the hands of God when she put him into that basket, releasing him into the plans God had for Moses. And they were mighty. And I want you to know, God has a mighty plan for your life. Trust him today. Meditate on how your plan is going to intersect with so many other lives and how God is orchestrating all of it. His hand is upon you as well. Till next time, you are loved mightily. Thank you for making time for the Bible for Busy People today. If being part of this community is a blessing to you, it's super easy to share this podcast with someone you love. We're all about spreading the hope of Jesus like butter. So if you've got a moment to write a review, boy, we'd really appreciate that. Maybe you need a little prayer today, or you're ready to take that next step with God. I invite you to check out our show notes. You're going to find lots of encouragement there. This podcast is one branch on a tree called Purposely, a podcast network designed with practical podcasts to help you find and thrive in God's purpose for your life. If you've got a pulse, you've got a purpose.